Here we have some systems of equations, and we're only going to focus on how many solutions would these systems have. For instance, if I graphed these two lines for each one, how many times would they touch? Would they touch once? Would they never touch? Would they touch in every place? What would these lines look like? So the main thing we're going to focus on is slope. So we have y equals mx plus b. Now, fortunately for all these examples that I've given you, they're already in y equals mx plus b form. You need to be able to change from standard form into this form before you can do this step. But I've already skipped to that step and went straight to this. So here, for the first example, we're going to look at the slopes. We have a 3 slope, which is going to be an uphill line, and then a -4 slope, which is going to be a downhill line. As long as these two lines have different slopes, they will have one solution, meaning when you graph them, they would touch in one spot and one spot only. Now, if you notice this one, what's special about it is they both have the same slope, but their y-intercepts are the same. So the type of lines these are, if they have the same slope, would be parallel lines. And we know for parallel lines, they never touch, so they would never meet. So the answer here would be a no solution because they're parallel lines that never touch. Now, at first glance, these are the same. They have the same slope again. So you would think they would be parallel. However, we notice here that they also have the same y-intercept. The likelihood that you got these two equations just like this is pretty rare. You would probably get them in some type of standard form and then have to change them, and they end up looking like this. But essentially, when you graph both of these, it's the same line. If you graph the first one and then graph the second one, they would be right on top of each other. So where do they touch? They touch everywhere. So our answer would be infinite solutions because we couldn't pick just one place. It would be every single one. If you graphed it, it would be this line, and then you graphed it again, and it would actually be that exact same line on top of it. So that would be an infinite solutions. Then when we get a little bit more advanced, we're looking here, we look at these two slopes, and the first slope is a 2/3, and the other slope is a -3/2. These are opposite reciprocals. Reciprocal means that you flip the fraction, numerator and denominator, so we flipped it, and then opposite means we made it positive or negative, whatever the opposite is. When you have opposite reciprocal slopes, these lines are perpendicular, meaning if you graph them, they would be able to touch, but wherever they touched, it would be a perpendicular or a 90-degree angle. So these again would only have one solution because they have different slopes, but realize that when you have the opposite reciprocals like these slopes, they're actually going to be perpendicular lines. I hope this helped with figuring out how many solutions that you would have for systems of equations.